Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our playthrough of the experimental build of Hellion. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, in our last episode, I went ahead and we got ourselves all set up. We pulled our starting base, as it were, out of the dangerous orbit that it was in inside of the debris cloud around Bether. And we went through that, and I wasn't really able, due to the time constraints, to go into detail about some of the things that I was doing and why I was doing them, and the various mechanics like the warping mechanics and such. So we're going to be going through a lot of that more closely here, but for this episode what we're going to be looking at is power management, life support, resource management, and taking a look at the new crafting system. So now, one of the things that I commonly see people fail to do is power down. Like when you go and you log out of this game, your character does not leave the game. Your character is here at all times, even when you are not. So for instance, if you're off on your ship and you log out, then when you come back, you're probably going to be dead. And the reason for this is that while your character is still there on the ship, they're still breathing oxygen at a consistent rate. They are still subject to being killed by an outside force, such as somebody shooting you through the canopy of your cockpit. Any number of those things can and will lead to your inevitable death. So in order to protect yourself, when you log out, you must log out in one of these cryopods, because when you do that, that's when you actually despawn from the game. Your character will actually despawn, and this will look empty, but it'll show that that's where you respawn. And when you respawn, you'll come back in through there, and it's whatever you have on you is safe so long as it's in there, assuming that somebody doesn't blow out your station and leave you to die in the vacuum of space. That being said, there are a number of issues. So when it's time to log out, your ship and your station produce power based on their solar panels, and they store it in the capacitor. However, a lot of times, if you leave everything on, you'll see I've got a power draw that is negative because I turned off the reactor on the ship. But again, if I leave that on, it's consuming 4 every hour. So if I'm gone for 8 hours or 24 hours, well, that's a ton. That's basically all of the reactor fuel. So it's always important to shut this down, because you need this reactor if you're going to efficiently travel, because the amount of power necessary, you need basically a full charge of your capacitor, which means that between jumps you would have to basically power down your ship completely when it's free floating in order for you to be able to get from one jump. All right, so it's an impractical proposition to try and run your system 24/7, because you'll need these reactors, and they don't last long enough. So you need to conserve that power for when you are active and not when you are down and out. So that's why we shut this down, because we want the positive power gain, but we want it to be active because while you're offline, your system is still consuming resources. So one of the things that I do, and I recommend you do, is that you take the time, you shut down your oxygen generators, because this one's not going to work because I don't have any oxygen or nitrogen in the system, because I left the oxygen generator on while I was logged off. So the tanks are now empty, and this system is not going to work all that well for me. Versus this system, which will, because it still has an amount of oxygen and nitrogen left. Because the way I've set this up is that the filter will clean the air that I have, which it's only doing a marginal job with right now. We're at pretty low oxygen quality. Anything below 90% is a pretty bad deal. So I'm repressurizing that. Each of these rooms needs better air quality, and unfortunately, I just don't have the oxygen for it. I do have the air tanks though, so I'm going to try and repressurize these rooms and maybe get some better air quality. Try to repressurize that. And this is, all of these controls here are a new function, as well as this air tank are all new functions for this build. So let's try to pressurize all of these. Alright, so we have fully pressurized the station. Some of the corridors are not, the air quality is not what I would like. But we'll have to make do with the air filtering. Hopefully the bad air quality won't kill me immediately. So now when you start the game, you start off with a number of resources, and I've already refined a little bit of them because I needed them, but you have a refinery on your ship. The normal amount is that it consumes about 500 per second. I've gone ahead and thrown a servo motor in there to reduce it by 50%. But one of the things you should remember is that just because you don't have a servo motor to do that, you usually will start with one, and you can move it around between systems as you need them. So like, you might leave it here in the filter to reduce the cost, because when you don't have the oxygen tank run, the oxygen generator running, you probably don't need the power savings. So then you might move it to here, but then you're like, okay, well I need to do some refining, so you might pull it out of there and stick it in here. And that's a workable solution early on. So we're going to go ahead and do the refining now. And one of our big things that we need is oxygen, so we're going to go ahead and, actually we need oxygen and nitrogen. So we're going to do a half and half. This refinery can only do, well, we're just going to run it twice. The refinery can only process 100 units, units of any particular resource. Dry ice, which is basically just CO2, it scrubs out the carbon and leaves you with just the oxygen, the O2. So you get a fairly good return on dry ice for oxygen. The nitrates are where you're going to get your nitrogen, which is the other half of your mix, which you need a lot of nitrogen. Like, it's 70% of your breathable air is nitrogen or a mix of similar stuff. Only about 30% is actual oxygen. So now you can see my power output has gone negative because I'm chewing through a lot of power now. And that's fairly common. Normally without the servo motor, this would be, I'd be like negative 500 or so, or negative 4 something, because this would be double at 500 per second. So you need to be mindful of your power consumption. So we'll go ahead and let that process. Now, the other thing that I noticed, I was taking a look earlier just between videos, and it does not allow us to actually choose an item. And I don't know if that's because we don't have any materials, or if it is because we don't have any knowledge. Because I think that there might be like a pattern to this stuff. So let's see, that one has 75. What's this one got? That one's got nothing. So we can sacrifice this one. So this is your recycler. So if I place that in there, see, now it says it's going to give me 3 metallic fragments and 1 plastic shred. So if I hit the button, boom, gone. And now we have those resources. Now I wonder if it'll allow me to reconstruct that object. And it does not look like it. So if we put those into the fabricator, it unfortunately does not, as of yet, allow us to... Oh, there we go. Choose an item to craft. All right, so here we go. So we can say a sentry gun. Wow. Holy shnikes. Let's see here. Ballistic ammunition, lava lamp, a 12.5 helix rounds. So we've got a fair amount of stuff. That's the 8.5. Oh, so two different pistols. It looks like military assault rifle. So we've got a variety of different things. Oh shoot! All right, so now we're getting down to the brass tacks of stuff here. So this is really interesting. What you see here is actually the numbers besides these with the colors are actually the what is it, the grade. So like the blue is the grade 2, the green is the grade 3, and the gold or whatever is grade 4. I'm colorblind, so it's hard for me to see these things, but these are the different grades, which means that they do better for you. So this is nice. So we're going to be able to really start putting things together. So now it's not so much of an issue. That's excellent. So we're going to go ahead and take these, because I don't generally need these resource cans. So we're going to go ahead and start dumping these here. Okay, and dump that one. So now you'll be able to take your unused parts or your extra junk, because you will find a fair amount of extra junk. Now I don't want to throw these away because those are actually important for mining. So I will need those at a certain point. So let's go ahead and put this away. We're not gonna throw that away because we may actually need a fire extinguisher in the future. So my guess is that this is probably, ooh, that was not fun. What the hell? What the absolute hell was that? Okay. The fact that that's right by the medical... Holy crap. That was terrifying. Okay. Ugh. Holy shit, that just like shredded the hell out of me. Alright, so I am actually going to, give me just 1 second, because that screwed me up quite badly. So I'm going to just do a quick pull of some information real quick, because I don't want that to largely impact our gameplay. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull up the dev code for, let's see here. Okay. Okay, we'll just use that. All right. All right, we'll just fill this up here. Just in case. So yeah, because I'm on the experimental build and I'm part of the test squad, I get access to the codes. I forgot to check something. In this, choosing the item, let's see here. Do we have the ability to create warp cells, because that's the key item. Do we have the ability to create warp fuel cells? Warp cells, excellent. What do we need here? Deuterium. Okay, so we can do this. That's great. This gives us a really good set of things that we can do to help out our situation. So the crafting is real, folks. The crafting is real. All right. So now that we've got our resources, let's go ahead and check the. Okay, the refinery is done. We got about 70% out of that 100 dry ice. So we need the nitrates. Go ahead and confirm that. And then we're going to manage our resources. And this shows the resources of every object in the station. This is the storage, and these are the various parts of your station. So like for instance, this is the RCS fuel for that docking module. So if I wanted to, I could pull all of the RCS out of there and use it for something else. I could repurpose it. Same here. Like I've got half of an air tank, but I need more. The Wanderer has a little bit of air left in it, but has no nitrogen or oxygen with which to function. So it's in a bit of a tough situation. I kind of wish there was a way to sort this. You can, however, like process out the other materials so that you can just see what you need. Let's see here. We don't need all that much nitro in there right now, nor do we need the hydrogen. We need that for our local use, but we do need the deuterium because we don't have a reactor anywhere else, and that deuterium is going to be important for the ship's reactor for now. All right, so we're waiting for this to refine, and it's going to go ahead and get us nitrogen and nitro. And we're just going to go ahead and process what we have here and make ourselves a good little setup. And oh, there's a baby girl who just showed up here because she learned how to work doors. So we're going to go ahead and let this continue processing. Man, that thing is scary. Oh, okay, baby girl. That's enough. No. Go. You want to go take that to Mama? I don't think that's such a good idea. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I go ahead and take care of my little girl, and then we will get back to it. Again, whenever you're not actively doing something, it's really good to shut down your systems to reduce overall cost. So like life support, we just want the air filters on now. I will be right back. Thank you. Hold on. All right, welcome back. So we've gone ahead and I'm not even sure where I left off here. Yeah, we've looked at crafting and at refining. So let's go ahead and unload that and process the rest of this here. Now there is a cargo bay module that has a much more powerful and much more costly refinery, but it is a viable tool. Because that one you can do like I think it's like 10 times as much or 50 times as much materials. But anyway, this will allow us to go ahead and load in some nitrogen here. So one of the things you're going to want to prioritize is fuel for your station, because you'll need to be able to get around and get your station working. So you're going to have to prioritize. Oh, that's almost empty. Cool. All right, so we'll fill that up because we're going to need this. You regularly use your repair tool if you're smart. Okay, so refined canister. Again, I don't feel that I need these currently because they're prevalently available. So we'll go ahead and refine that for materials. And our first order of business, God, that is scary. That thing is actively terrifying the hell out of me. So our first order of business is going to be the prioritization of getting an early investment of resources. And that comes in the form of, oh, gotta do some repairs again. That comes in the form of running to the refineries that are around Bether. There's 2 of them. Now this is going to be your first instance where you are very likely going to run into somebody else who is hostile to you. Because those stations are publicly available information, you don't have to even scan them down. It is very, very possible and highly likely that while you are there, you are going to run into other people. And that is to say that somebody's going to try and rob you. And that's where the early pirates are going to be either lurking in that area or watching it. Because they don't even have to be in that area. I'm wondering if this is a space where I can... No, it's not a recycling thing. I was checking. So let's actually put this ammunition away. Now, because there's not a lot of people playing on the dev servers, I don't have to worry so much about interacting with somebody who's going to be hostile to me and therefore kill me. But let's go ahead and take this and number 1 and reload it. So we're good to go there. Put the rifle up. And we're going to go ahead and get going. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and actually, we've got time. Let's go ahead and prep this. Now, in order to undock, you have to pull that lever there. Or there's another one on the other side if somebody on the station wants to cut the ship free. It used to be that you used to have to pull both of them. That's not the case anymore. You pull either one and the ship is going to be cut loose. And if that door is open in the middle, then you're going to depressurize whatever's connected. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't depressurize your ship. Now I forgot to move resources over. And that's a cardinal sin here. Because I do have an air tank on the ship, and it does have some air, but we are going to be running short of breathable atmosphere on the ship if I don't take the time to acquire some more resources. So I need to go, let's see here, I need some oxygen and some nitrogen. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of oxygen here. Take about half here. Okay, that looks good. And let's take about half of the nitrogen as well. Let's there we go. And then we'll take all of what we have remaining in storage. Let's go ahead and load the ship up here. So nitro. You generally don't want to do what I'm doing right now because it will more than likely not work out in a positive way for you. Because if you lose the ship, you lose all of the resources that are on it. So you definitely have to be careful. And we're going to go ahead and take these because we're going to store them in the ship for later use. What is our air? Okay, while we're here, oh no, I just threw all the oxygen and stuff in the other thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. And let's go ahead and we'll pull the nitro from there. Okay, so let's unload that. Alright, so attached. Need a little bit of nitro, which is only 3. And we need oxygen, which is a total of 10. So we're going to make sure that this pack is fully charged before we take it. And we have 3 of these with oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. So those will keep us alive if we need them. So they're always a good thing to have on hand. I usually carry at least 1, which I usually have about a little tiny bit of nitro in, but mostly oxygen, because you really need it for oxygen more than anything. Alright, so we've got the ship set. Let's go ahead and shut the... Ooh. Maneuvering around without the jetpack on is very, very difficult. Alright, so we're going to close this door, and we're going to cut ourselves loose. Okay, so now the ship has been cut loose. We can go ahead and drop down. Always be careful when dropping down through this door, because if you're not feet first, then when you drop down, you're going to enter your gravity field for the ship, and you're going to fall on your face, which can actually injure you. So let's go ahead and go down into the cargo bay. And open her up. And let's go ahead and store these. Now, I always store these with the intention of mass mining. So you can store, if you really want to get down to it, you can store somewhere on the order of, let's see here, 4, 8, 16, 20 cans just in this section here, and then another 4, 8, oh, let's see here, no, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, so you can get about 44, 48 cans or so in there for mining. Which can be very useful. This ship is very viable. Oh, shoot, I forgot to close that door down there. Let's go ahead down here and close this door here. Close that. Close doors behind you, folks. This should keep us okay. Go ahead and close this door. And let's go ahead and hit that those refineries. Now, the things we're looking for there are anything that we can reprocess for later, but also we're looking for the warp cells. We're looking for any warp cells that we can get, as long as they have fuel. Now, the first thing I always do is thrust away in 2 different directions from my station. And the reason for that is that once I get ready to jump, I don't want to have my station as an obstruction to my flight path. So moving away from the station in one direction or another, or I usually pick 2, just because it gives us the maneuverability we need as we prep. And actually, I've got those, oh, you know what, I'll worry about it later. I've got a catalyst that I can throw in here to improve the power output. Actually, no, we're actually going to do that, because every little bit of efficiency that you can garner is important. Now, one of the things that was in the last build that was really kind of frustrating was that in order to get certain things, you had to go to specific places. And if they didn't spawn, and you were just SOL. It's nice now that with the crafting, we actually have the ability to pick what we're going to do. So in our next video, I'm going to go ahead and put together a second video about what the warp mechanics have become at this point. We're going to go ahead and power that up so that you can see what the warping is, how to do it, and my theories on the best mechanical ways of getting a good landing on target. So let's go ahead and take a look here, and I'll show you what we're actually looking at. So this is Bether. These clouds here are the debris field, and you'll see that zipping in and out of them are these two refineries. You'll also see that around the moons, like here's Burner, you'll see that there is another, so there's another station. And again, like if we go and look at the other moons, like Broken Marble, similarly there's another station there. These are like the publicly known stations, and they each have a flavor to them. Like the one Broken Marble and all of the stuff around it is military based. Burner is all civilian based, and Everest Station is all industrial based. So you'll find your power supply modules and maybe cargo bay modules here, but you'll find like your command modules over there in Broken Marble, and you'll find like crew quarter and other modules around Burner. So there's a fair amount of division in those. But when you start going out into the larger system here, you'll start to find that the planets themselves, the other planets, see that's the civilians around the main planet here, but then around the moon, if we can go to that moon, there's no actual known station around this, but so we don't really know what spawns there. So they don't give you a total idea of what's around, but you can, to a certain degree, set things up. Now the jumps between places is really, really expensive in time and resources. So as you get further along in the game, you're going to eventually want to move your station, and that's a fairly large project in and of itself. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish getting set up for a jump, and we're going to go to one or both of those automated refineries to gather what resources we can and get the heck out of here. Until then, I'm going to go ahead and power this down until that video is, until it's time for that, and we will come back in the next video to go ahead and take a look at what can be done. Until next time, I'm Wrath. I hope you've enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. It does help my channel, and I will catch you on the flip side.